20 Minutes with Mrs. Oakentop. Q1. What happened with the man in Korea in June 1953? Ans. In June 1953, the man went to a war in Korea. He got injured and fainted. When he opened his eyes, he saw a Korean girl looking at him. She looked at him and smiled. This smile had given him the purpose to live. He wanted to take revenge from Judy Oakentop, who killed his wife and daughter in a road accident. Q2. Why did the man want to kill Mrs. Oakentop? Ans. The man became her bitter enemy out of grief. She killed her wife and daughter in motor accident. She was drunken and driving car with rapid speed only for bet. That was his motive. It's mean that his motive was to take revenge. Q3. Was the man justified in killing Mrs. Oakentop? Ans. According to the story, the man was justified in murdering Mrs. Judy Oakentop in the following manners. First of all, she killed his daughter and wife in an accident while she was driving a car in the fit of drunken mischief, and she was also driving fast because of a bet. Mrs. Oakentop lied in the court and the court concluded that it was a manslaughter, so she was given 6 months of imprisonment. That's why the man killed her, to punish the evildoer. The devoted friend. Q1. How did Hans die? Ans. One stormy night, the miller visited Hans' house. Miller persuaded Hans to bring a doctor because Miller's son was fallen from the ladder and he had hurt himself. Hans requested the miller to lend him the lantern, which Miller. He refused as usually because of selfishness. Hans went to doctor's home and enlightened about the situation. The doctor headed towards Miller home in a horse. Hans was also returning, but rain started falling into torrents. It was too dark and the area was full of deep holes. In one of the holes, little Hans fell and died. The next morning, his dead body was discovered by some goat herds. Q2. Do you think that Miller was a good friend of Hans? Ans. In fact, the miller was Hans's most selfish friend. It was the miller who was getting service from Hans from all the time and do anything for him. He promised to give his wheelbarrow to Hans, but never gave it. Instead, he put him to work for long hours. Act 3 of The Silver Box. Q1. Do you think that Mr. Jones deserves a just sentence? He explained the magistrate did not do even justice. He let Mr. Bathwack's son go set free without questioning him about the purse of the lady he had perhaps attacked. Thus the magistrate did not do full justice. The day the dam broke. Q1. How did the panic start at cinema on High Street? Ans. An aunt of James Thurber, namely Edith Taylor, was there in a cinema theater when the running occurred in Columbus City. A W.S. Hart picture was being shown in the cinema. An elderly man sitting near my aunt mumbled something and got out of his seat and went up the aisle at a dog trot. This startled everybody. In an instant the audience was jamming the aisles. A woman shouted, "Fire!" who always expected to be burned up in a theater. The whole audience ran outside the theater and gathered at the State House yard. Q2. What do you learn about human behavior from The Day the Dam Broke? Ans. James Thurber elaborated eloquently a sardonic but affectionate view of human behavior. In his scripture named The Day the Dam Broke, he described an incident in which the people of Columbus City ran east to save their life in a fit of the thought that the dam has broken. It was just a rumor and all the people of Columbus City were as safe as kittens under a stove, but somehow the panic started and the whole crowd of city people started in full flight towards east so that their life could be saved. We learn from this chapter that human beings are so much careless and trustworthy. They trust upon everything they listen or see and they seldom try to find reasons. Hence, they make a fool of themselves. Pakistan and the modern world. Q1. Why did the Muslims of South Asia demand a separate homeland for them? Ans. Liaquat Ali Khan says that the Muslim and the Hindus were two nations. They have so many differences that they could not live together. The Muslims believed in one God and the Hindus believed more than one God. Muslims believed in equality while the Hindus believed in differences of castes. The Muslims had laws inheritance different from those of Hindus. They had different economic views. Thus, they were to separate nations. Further, the Muslims were quite backward while the Hindus were advanced. The Hindus were in majority in undivided India. Without Pakistan, all the Indian Muslims would have become a minority after independence. The Muslims wanted a country of their own to promote their religion and culture and to progress, so Pakistan created. Q2. What are the main differences between the Hindus and the Muslims? Ans. Liaquat Ali Khan points out the belief of Muslims in one God and the Hindus in more than one God. They believe in the Prophet of the Arabia and Christ and in the belief of the right of private ownership and distribution of wealth through inheritance and the practice of the Hindus to promote the increase of wealth. Q3. What are the demands which our freedom makes on us? Ans. Liaquat Ali Khan says that freedom does not mean freedom from foreign rule only. According to him, the government as well as the people should be free. In the real sense, freedom has no value for common men, if they lack the facilities and the necessities of life and are suffering from diseases and ignorance. Liberty does not descend upon a people. A people must raise themselves to it. It is the fruit that must be earned, before it can be enjoyed. As a free nation, the first demand that our freedom makes on us is to maintain it. The maintenance of freedom requires constant vigilance. We disgrace the fair name of free people if we fail in maintaining it. The second demand that our freedom makes on us is that we should earn our rightful place in the modern world as a free nation. Therefore, we must get rid of want, disease and ignorance. We cannot hold the clock back. So, we should go forward at double pace. We should use all our resources and all our energies for this objective. Reflections of the Reawakening East. Q1. What are the advices given by Bertrand Russell to Asian nations? Ans. The Asian countries should have advanced scientifically and industrially like the West. They should show tolerance and have democratic quality like West. But they should not put science to destructive use, should not prepare for war. They should not put an end to their old traditions and social ways and not become slaves to industrialism. Q2. What is the Dark Age of Europeans? Ans. European historians call the centuries after the fall of Roman Empire the Dark Ages because the European and Western countries were backward. The Muslims countries including Spain and Eastern Asian countries were advanced in comparison. But European historians did not consider this, and described the ages till the 15th century as dark. Q3. What is communism? How it is the most virulent form of Western imperialism. Ans. Communism, though it is not widely recognized both in the East and the West, is the most virulent form of Western imperialism. Its philosophy is German and its regime is imposed by military. It is dangerous for the culture because it is against cultural traditions. Q4. Why did Bertrand Russell consider it useless to resist industrialization? Ans. Bertrand Russell considered it useless to resist industrialization because it is a condition of survival. The power of England in the 19th century is due to the virtual monopoly of machine production, and nowadays the power of USA and USSR is due to the supremacy of them in this respect. Those countries who lag behind in this respect face difficulty to preserve their independence. When industrialization was new in England, it roused indignant protests due to the destruction of beauty. These protests were eloquently expressed in Carlyle's Past and Present. But they remained ineffective. Gandhi, in spite of immense influence over his compatriots, was unable to restore the spinning wheel. Machine production is bound to prevail. The world as I see it. Q1. What is the attitude of Albert Einstein about war? Ans. He hates war. To him war is mean and contemptibly. War seemed to him an abominable business. He preferred to hack in pieces than to take part in a war. He believed that this bogey would have been disappeared earlier if the minds of people had not been corrupted by school and press for the benefits of government. Q2. What is the idea of Albert Einstein about democracy? Ans. Einstein considered himself a pacifist and humanitarian, and in later years, a committed democratic socialist. He disapproved of the totalitarian regimes in the Soviet Union and elsewhere, and argued in favor of a democratic socialist system which would combine planned economy with a deep respect for human rights. Einstein was a co-founder of the liberal German Democratic Party. Einstein was greatly involved in the civil rights movement. Einstein was quoted as saying that, "Racism is America's greatest disease." Einstein opposed tyrannical forms of government and for this reason, opposed the Nazi regime and fled Germany shortly after it came to power. My political ideal is democracy. Let every man be respected as an individual and no man idolized. An astronomer's view of the universe. Why is the origin of life still a riddle to the scientists? 2017-2019. Uns. The scientists are not certain about when and how the life began in the Earth. Some of them opine that asteroids brought building materials for life, that is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. These elements combined in a definite arrangements to form a single-celled organism, but since the molecular structure of cell is so much complex that it seems impossible. It is just like the monkeys are going to write a Shakespeare sonnet on typewriter. If the mystery of origin of life is solved, it will be a greater revolution in science than Galileo's astronomy or Darwin's biology. Science without religion is blind, religion without science is lame. Einstein. Subsection 2, Poetry. Lines from Ulysses. Q1, to strive, to seek and not to yield. Describe this line. Uns. These are the ending lines of Alfred Lord Tennyson's epic poem, Ulysses. In this poem, Ulysses, a Greek hero, is returning from winning the battle of Troy against Trojans, and now he is voyaging through the sea in a boat with his mariners for returning his homeland. This voyage had been very miserable for them and they suffered a long way hardship. Ulysses is orating in front of his mariners to increase their courage. Most of his companions have grown old and make weakened due to a very long battle which they have recently fought. Ulysses is saying that though we have become old but our willpower is still much strong, and by now we can seek newer world and strive for glory and will never be defeated against enemies. In this way, he instills a sense of courage and bravery in his mariners so that they can go on their sea voyage. Q2. How did Ulysses encourage his mariners to embark upon a new adventure? Uns. First of all, he paid tribute to his comrades who worked really hard and faced the danger of nature. He reminded them of the past endeavors, the contriving, and motivated them to get prepared for another voyage because he believed that struggle has no ending. Perhaps we will find the newer land. Music when soft voices die. Q1. What is the central idea of this poem? Uns. Music when soft voices die is one of the most anthologized, influential, and well-known of Shelley's works. The poet feels very rightly that our loved ones are so precious and dear to us that no matter what happens we cannot forget them. The poet's beloved is not with him, but her thoughts are with him, and his love will sleep on her thoughts. In other words, the poet wants to say that it does not matter if the sweetheart is physically away from him because, spiritually, she is with him. He is not alone as in his imagination. He finds his beloved very close to him. And so, thy thoughts when thou art gone, love itself shall slumber on. Shelley. Say not the struggle not availed. Q1. What is the main idea behind this poem? Uns. The poem teaches us the moral of inflecting courage. The poet through various images conveys that without struggle man cannot accomplish anything in the world. It confesses that struggle is the key of success. Subsection 3, Novel. The Prisoner of Zenda. Q1. How did Black Michael die? Uns. When Rupert of Hentzai entered the room of the Mormon forcefully, then she started shouting. Black Michael entered in her room and started to fight with Rupert of Hentzai. The sword fight continues until Rupert hit him a fatal slash which ended Michael's life. Q2. Who were the six? Uns. Black Michael uses his six villains to deal with his enemies. They are known as the Sixer, the Higher Guns. Rupert of Hentzai is the leading member of Black Michael gang of ruffians, the Six. The member of the gang of ruffians helps Black Michael to complete his schemes. They play a role in fighting with Rysendil and try to complete the devilish plot of Black Michael. Q3. Compare the two Rudolphs in this novel. Uns. Despite King Rudolf Elfberg and Rudolf Rysendil resemble physical appearance, they markedly differ in their personalities. King Elfberg was a carefree person while Rysendil was much responsible. Rudolf was not aware with the feelings of love while Rysendil was much a romantic person. Q4. Why did Madame de Maubin betray Black Michael? Uns. Antoinette de Maubin is a widow, rich and ambitious. She is a graceful, fashionably dressed French lady. She is educated and sophisticated lady and moves in the highest circle of Paris society. She had no political interest, but her ambition to win Black Michael involves her completely in the intrigues. She has come to Strelsau to safeguard her own interest. She loves Black Michael above her head and soul, but she knows very well the intention of Black Michael, who wants to be the king of Ruritania, and he can realize his dreams by attracting Princess Flavia. She clearly tells Rudolf Rysendil, "Say, I am Christian, or say I am jealous. My God, shall I see him marry her?" Madame de Maubin has great courage, determination and willpower, but participation in the struggle for succession is based upon personal aims and motives. When she sees that Black Michael is neglecting her, then she betrays him and tells everything about his devilish plot to Rysendil and Flavia. Q5. Describe any interesting moment of this novel. Describe tea table incident. Uns. Rysendil is a brave man. He agrees to impersonate the king and take risk of his own life. When Maubin writes a letter to him and wants to meet him a particular house called the Summer House, both Supt and Rysendil go to the Summer House. Supt stays behind while Rysendil go to the Summer House. Supt stays behind while Rysendil goes into the house. He meets there with Maubin, who tells him about the plans of Black Michael to kill him by his 3 men. She advises him not to go by the front door because it will be closely guarded. When they are talking to each other, Michael to kill him by his 3 men. She advises him not to go by the front door because it will be closely guarded. When they are talking to each other, Michael's man arrives there. Rudolf stands behind the door with the rifle in his hand ready to shoot. From outside someone speaks not to shoot, and they decided that they should talk through the closed door. Rudolf understands that they are playing game. They want to attack on him. He wants Maubin to stand aside from the line of firing and himself takes up an iron table which is used as a tea table as a shield from their bullets. They open the door and come close together to fire at him, but the attackers become caught in the table and all 4 of them tumble down the stairs. Thus, he uses the tea table intelligently for his escape from the Summer House. Q6. Briefly describe the coronation ceremony. Uns. The most interesting scene in the novel is the coronation of Rudolf Rysendil as a king of Ruritania. The real king was lying senseless in the forest lodge B. C. He had taken dragged wine. Rysendil had a great resemblance with the king. He had to shave off his beard and appeared at the coronation in place of Rudolf Elfberg. So, Rudolf, Supt and Fritz got a train for Strelsau. The train reached there an hour earlier than the fixed time. The information was sent to the city. Soon high officials of the state reached there at the station to welcome the king. Supt kept on whispering the names of officers and the king met them with confidences. Nobody could suspect that the king was not real. Even Countess Flavia, who was to marry the king, was not able to notice the replacement. Then, they rode in a procession to the church. As the king passed through the streets, there were cheers, blessings and waving handkerchiefs all rounds. All the people were happy when they saw the king. The commander-in-chief of the army ordered the soldiers be very close to the king. The king didn't agree to the safety and rode alone. This left a good impression on the people. The king knelt before the priest giving him a token of respect, and then ceremonies started silently. When all traditional activities were over, the king was crowned by the priest. Then Princess Flavia and other high officials including Michael kissed the hand of the king. Rudolf Rassendyll played the role of the king excellently till he went to the place and entered the sleeping room. Q7. What is a Jacob's ladder? What is its importance in the novel? Ans. The king of Ruritania was imprisoned in the castle of Zenda. Duke Michael had connected the king's room to the moat through a big pipe. This pipe was the earthenware. It was so large that a man could was easily slip through it from the room to the moat. It was called by Rupert as Jacob's ladder. Duke had ordered the guards that whenever an attempt was made to liberate the king, they should kill him, tie a weight of his body and throw it through the pipe down into the moat. The murderers could also escape the Jacob's ladder similarly. Q8. Give a character sketch of Colonel Supt. Ans. Colonel Supt is a brave man whose gallantry keeps him motivated for taking personal risks. He shows great valor on all events. He is also very loyal to the king and serves the throne with dedication and faith. Being a sovereign authority, he has enough experience in the art of governing people. His only objective in life is to reinstate King Elfberg. For this achievement, he uses all the persons including Countess Flavia as pieces of chessboard. Supt's courage and determination is enlightened when he said to Rassendyll, "It is done as no man but you could have done it." Q9. What are the qualities of Princess Flavia? Ans. Princess Flavia is the heroine of Anthony Hope's novel. She is the cousin as well as fiancée of the king and the next heir to the throne. She is tall and graceful lady with a pale face, blue eyes and golden hair. She is very young, beautiful and attractive. She is very popular among the people of Ruritania. She is well versed in all political affairs of the country. She wants Rudolf Rassendyll. She frankly makes the confession of love and in last meeting with him. She says that she can accompany him even in rags. Then the real king appears. She sacrifices that passion for the sake of the king and the state of Ruritania. She is not the slave of her passions. No doubt, she is a very responsible, self-sacrificing and nice lady, and we can say that she is an ideal woman. Q10. What is a ball? Why was it arranged? Ans. A ball is a royal dance party which was arranged by Colonel Supt. When the people of Ruritania started to join the name of Princess Flavia with Duke Michael, then it became compulsory for Rudolf Rassendyll to show his love to her. The ball was a sumptuous affair. Rassendyll opened it by dancing a quadrille, then he waltzed with her. Q11. How did Rudolf Rassendyll save King Rudolf? Ans. Rudolf Rassendyll draws up the following plan of attack on the castle of Zenda. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Johann will open the door of the new castle. Supt will attack with the strong party. At the same moment, Madame, acting a little conveyed by Johann, will scream for help as if Rupert is molesting her. This should be Michael cut to her rescue, and then Supt will capture him alive. Supt will then have the drawbridge run out, and it is likely that Rupert, possible with the goat-8, will run across the bridge to see what is happening. Rudolf Rassendyll, equipped with a small ladder and riding in the moat, will get into the bridge and kill Rupert and the goat-8 as well. Taking the keeps and enter in the castle and save the king, Rudolf Elfberg. Q12. Rupert is really a daredevil. Comment. Who is the more devilish between Black Michael and Rupert of Hentzau? Ans. Rupert of Hentzau was a Ruritanian, and he was the leader of the six gang of ruffians employed by Black Michael for the accomplishment of his devilish plot. Rupert was a very young and handsome man, and he was really a daredevil who doesn't afraid of anyone, and not even his master, Black Michael. Rudolf Rassendyll himself confessed that whenever he thinks about Rupert of Hentzau, his heartbeat increases due to fear and anxiety. Rupert of Hentzau even dared to attack Rudolf Rassendyll outside the chateau of Tallenheim by means of a dagger.